Hello and welcome everyone to our match in the Division 2 of Serenity Gaming between SRG Lyra and Helsingør Ungdomsskole. I think I said that right. Anyways, I'm Kachka and I will be bringing you this series with...
Yes, I think it cut out there for a last second, however. Once again, howdy, my name is Karim. I think you're all familiar with us two, you know, the lovely duo. And indeed, we do have quite the game to unveil in front of us today between Helsingør Ungdomsskole and Lyra from our lovely Serenity Gaming. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully you guys have a snack ready because, well, I think it may go on for 3 games, so just get ready for some really intense action.
It could very well go, even though if you take a look at the last week, Lyra, they are coming off a 2-0. On the other side, Helsingør, they have an unfortunate 0-2 coming in from the week.
Yes, you kind of keep on cutting out. Don't worry about that. Indeed, Helsingør, they kind of messed up in week 1 where they get pretty much smashed by Tane Esports. It was really unfortunate. However, we saw a couple of players sort of starting to stand out, I dare say. Thor Peter, he played relatively well given the circumstances. He didn't quite fall behind, and I believe that he may be one of the more core players in this entire lineup that we may see today. But yes, there is a lot of confidence on the Lyra's lineup. One of the players, I have to say Miller, said that they were going to 2-0 the next 4 games, so that is quite a goal to set for yourself going into the Division 2.
Yeah, he didn't say it publicly, but
okay, yeah.
I think anything you say to a caster, guys, just a reminder, it's gonna get out there. But I mean, it's still good to see the confidence, even though he's he isn't, you know, going out saying it. There is still that confidence. You cannot deny this, and I'm glad to see it coming in from Lyra, because a team that is confident is a team that will very likely perform well when they have to.
Most certainly, and their real core of performing well was their main AD carry, Lodberg. However, he won't be here today as he is still having classes, I believe, so, you know, good luck to his studies. However, Lyra will be playing with a substitute today. Hi, I'm Tempo. That's not me announcing myself. That's his name. So we will see how that is going to shape up their draft, if they will still focus on their AD carry, because, well, Grathwol really loves to play around Lodberg. He really likes to play some of these more ardent supports or engaged supports. We have seen him go last week against Roskilde with 78 and 94% kill participation in those games. So I think that we can say that he's a really important player for Lyra, and we'll just see if his synergy is really affected with a new player rather than with Lodberg.
Yeah, we have seen him on that Lulu, and yeah, as you said it, his kill participation was extremely high in that game, which means that playing around the AD carry is something that Lyra are familiar with, so looking at how that will be affected by the change in an AD carry is something.
Definitely. We may see a bit of a deviation, however, from that, as I'm still keeping an eye out on Miller, because, well, he is a former Trindomir one-trick. So I'm still kind of waiting to see that. We saw that in the first half, and that didn't quite go over too well with the state of the game. However, it's still technically possible that he is allowed that freedom to go for whatever he chooses. However, they may run into a bit of a wall with Helsingør, because their players aren't really focused on scaling team comps. They like playing more aggressive style of play. You have Yu Chang in the mid lane who can play something like that. Yasuo, last week he did play the Zoe and the Yasuo, which admittedly was a bit of a soft int with him going 0-6, but he still has the champion pool that can allow for, you know, maybe someone like the Clover, who will be playing in the jungle for Helsingør today, to really focus around mid lane and try to snowball through there. So Lyra may find themselves in a pickle if they go for some sort of scaling team comp.
Especially if you look at that mid lane, as you said, Chang will he can play those aggressive picks. On the other side, Killcore, in the second half, so far he has played more of the utility role in the mid lane, so not quite the carry potential, not quite the snowball, mostly focusing around bot side. So with Lodberg not being here, that is a big thing to see whether Lyra still want to go and play around their bot side, or do they play around mid or top lane. those are all questions that will have to be answered once we go into the draft.
Certainly, and it will also tell us if Lyra are actually confident in playing around their bot lane itself, or rather just around Lodberg. If we see Kilcore on something more aggressive, it is going to be pretty surprising. Sorry, especially with the fact that Kilcore has this problem in the mid lane. It's relatively specific, but he tends to play these champions that do not have really too much escape, and as such he can get caught out in the lane by the enemy jungler. And if Helsingør go through with what I kind of talked about here, with just the jungler focusing all around the mid lane, I am going to be a bit scared for Kilcore, because, well, I think he may be just ready to collapse any second.
Yeah, that could happen. I mean, we're going to have to see how these players adapt, because we can theorize how individual players like to play, but it really is about the team just coming together, getting these picks, and seeing how their champions work together as a whole. But yeah, you mentioned that Helsingør mid lane is a place where I am specifically looking at for them to try and snowball their game. Where are we looking for Lyra, do you think?
Well, for Lyra, we may see a sort of steady style of composition which they usually go with, except this time it's going to be tempo in the bot lane. Now, he does have a very similar champion pool compared to Lodberg, so we are likely just going to see another scaling hyper carry, I believe. There is still the possibility to go for a Lucian, which is going to be highly contested by Helsingør as well, as Thorpeter has played that in the past, and it is one of the strongest champions in the bot lane, at least right now. So that may be a lane where we can expect a lot of this early aggression to go through. Top lane, I believe, is going to be relatively stale, where it's just going to be, you know, a bit of a wet noodle fest, where the top laners are just going to be smacking themselves against one another. But we have seen some Sion 1v1s go through, so that could be technically a lane that's not going to snowball, but it's also going to be a relatively skill, quote-unquote, matchup. But yes, I agree, bot lane or mid lane. I don't think the junglers are going to play too big of a role in this match. However, both of them want to really focus on snowballing their lanes, so that's also going to play a really big factor into how the teams are going to come out today.
Well, looks like we are going into the picks and bans right now. Helsingør on the blue side, Lyra are on that red. And, I mean, you said that junglers aren't going to be that huge of a factor. Well, Kreiner, one of his best picks is that Sejuani, and with it coming slowly into the meta in various roles, we could be seeing that being quite high in the priority, and there is the ban from Helsingør about that, so looks like it won't be going through.
Yeah, makes sense. Sejuani is right now really strong with the changes that they give to her. We have seen it popping up both in top lane and support role, as well as in the jungle in the Wintersplit so far. So I think that Kreiner would be really happy to get his hands on that. But alas, it's not going to happen from Lyra. We are just seeing the Yasuo being taken away from Hugh Chang. Makes sense, and I think this just tells us that they are going to be going for some of the more scaling composition, and that they don't really want anything that can punish them super hard in the early game, which is why the Kassadin ban is a bit puzzling to me.
Well, Galio will look to be the first pick. One more ban that we haven't really touched on is that Tryndamere, so no Trinda for Meller, but the draft still is going on. Galio for Helsingør, Kai'Sa, and Shen for Lyra. So Lyra, they seem to be going towards protect the AD carry base composition, but Helsingør with that Sion going for many bruisers themselves.
Yeah, I think this may be a very similar team composition for every single one of these teams, because whenever you see Galio and Sion be locked in together, you already have a super strong front line, and you generally tend to pair that up with a sort of bulky scaling hyper carry. But taking that Lucian is interesting, because now Helsingør won't have the kind of pleasure to pick themselves a solid support, because Lyra can just ban it out. So maybe I would have had saved that for the second round, or had gone with another hyper carry. But alas, it seems that they want to do some proactive plays in the early game, so we'll see how that turns out.
Lyra going for the Lulu support themselves. They will be committing towards more of that late game or mid game spiking playstyles, though you talked about the Lucian getting picked. It is a very strong early game, especially into Kai'Sa. It's one of these AD carries that does very well in this matchup, so Helsingør could be looking to pick themselves up something aggressive in that bot lane, and by the looks of things, Lyra, they are focusing more on that jungle, though the Alistar ban comes through just as I say this.
And right now, Thresh is open, so Helsingør can pick that up, as Lyra have already locked in their support, so unless they are going for a funnel with Lulu mid, that's not going to happen. So I see a lot of potential for a strong bot lane for Helsingør, which is something that I mentioned in the pre-show. And if Lyra are not really, well, consistent around playing around their comps well enough, they're going to just fall apart, because you will have so much dive potential from the Galio, as well as Sion if he just decides to go bot lane. But right now, I don't see too many strong engage picks for the support role, maybe Rakan or Thresh, as he was opened by Lyra not picking it.
Yeah, it could be one of those. We have to see. Lyra now getting themselves the Cassiopeia, so they are going full late game. Helsingør though, Lee Sin, early game aggression will be the name of the game, and there is the Thresh as well, so Helsingør, they want to finish this game by 25.
Oh, definitely. They just want to start ganking as soon as they hit those level 6. But on the other hand, you have Lyra, who have locked that Zac in. And boy, I think that Galio can actually face a lot of trouble in that mid lane, especially as soon as Cassiopeia hits that level 6. Something that Zac is really known for is babysitting mid lane, because there are just so many avenues that he can choose to hop over the wall through. And, well, let's just say this. If Yu Chang isn't really careful on this Galio, he may just falter to Kilcore, whose champion pool is pretty much restricted to these mages, so he is really dang good at them.
In the Cassiopeia as well, she doesn't even need to kill. Like, Kilcore will be just content with making sure he has a safe lane, and with that omnipresent pressure of the Zac being in the jungle, wherever you don't have vision, you have to assume he's there. It could make Yu Chang's mid lane slightly complicated, because you just, as you said, you just cannot overextend, and that just the Zac pick itself, he doesn't even need to be mid lane, gives room to Kilcore to get that CS, get that gold, and just scale up into the late game as a Cassiopeia.
Certainly. However, another thing that I am looking at in this Zac pick is the potential for Clover to invade him, because something that Zac is really terrible at, it's 1v1ing, and Lyra are going to have a losing lane in the form of Lulu and Kai'Sa. They may be able to hold their own in the first couple of levels, however slowly they're going to give the lane away inch by inch to this super aggressive bot lane of Lucian and Thresh, which opens up the bottom portion of the map for Clover to just sneak into Zac's jungle and try to find him, or set down a couple of vision wards. Keep your eyes where the vision is this round, this match, because if you do not know where Zac is on the map every single time, you're going to be really scared, terrified, and it's going to hamper down your aggressiveness a lot.
Oh, I agree, and I agree with the point you said about Clover, because yeah, he needs to invade, he needs to go in either for vision or for the kills, because if you leave Zac unchecked, then he will just snowball it, and the bot lane is where I'm also looking at, not only for potential pressure advantage and tempo, but also for the dives, because you've got Galio, and whenever there is a Galio on a team, 4-man dives bot lane, or even 5-mans with a Sion tipping in, are a very big possibility, and a very reliable way of just getting your leads.
Especially now that you consider the entire lineup that Helsingør have locked in for themselves. They will just have so much damage in the early game. There's technically a potential for a 5-man dive when you think about it, but that's again a hypothetical, so let's not go into too many of those. Now, I mentioned that Clover is going to have an easy time in the bot lane with just invading Kreiner, and that's also going to be helped by the fact that he doesn't have a losing matchup in the mid lane. I mentioned that Yu Chang is going to be terrified as soon as Kilcore hits that level 6, because it just gives him so much utility to try to set up a gank, especially with Kreiner jumping by. But before that happens, Cassiopeia is going to need to expend a lot of mana to try to keep herself in that lane, and she has opted for a cleanse rather than a teleport. So if Chang just keeps up the pressure, Clover is just going to have such an easy time at securing the bottom portion of the map, So I think that is where the majority of the skirmishes or vision control is going to come from Helsingør.
Lyra, they really have a tough time in the early game. One lane though that I am looking potentially at to try and get by some early advantages that don't require you relying on Helsingør to make a mistake is that top lane. Shen versus Sion is a... Some people call it a boring matchup. What I like to call it is a undefined matchup, because tank versus tank, or... Well, Shen is kind... Yeah, let's call him a tank.
He is a tank, yeah.
The thing is, he has a lot of trading damage, so that's why my mind was kind of confused whether to put him more into that bruiser position as well. It can go really either way, and Shen's trades, they are very, very strong, and Meller has played that in the week 1 in both of the games. So top lane is somewhere where I'm looking at for Lyra to make their mark in the early game.
And it is also going to be the first match that pro mid lane player is going to be playing for Helsingør. Also, first time that he's going to be playing in the top lane, so it's going to be sort of showing us how good of a player he really is, because if Sion survives the early game against Shen and he doesn't get out-traded, he pretty much instantly wins the lane, because he is going to outscale Shen. Yes, Shen is a really good tank, however, the fact that he has such a good ultimate, just a cross-map teleport with a shield, it has to be compensated for some lack of his tankiness, so he is just going to have a hard time against Sion, especially past that level 6. As Sion hits his unstoppable onslaught, it will give him much more kill potential, and Clover can look to utilize that as well. Whereas Kreiner, he is going to have a bit of a hard time ganking Sion, just because him and Shen won't have too much damage, whereas Lee Sin and Sion definitely will, together with that lockdown.
Yeah, now we will just have to wait. Also, one thing that has been really... it has repeated throughout the games that we have seen so far in the second half of the Wintersplit are those early skirmishes around the dragon or the bot side. It is most often dictated by the RNG and whether it's not a Cloud Drake, but you have got Sion and Shen, both with teleports and ultimates that can get them across the map. So this is another place where I am looking at, and who do you think will really have an advantage if we will be seeing any early game fights around the river?
So in the early game fights, it's all going to be about Helsingør. Can they actually set up a good enough of dominant vision and presence in the bot lane? Because if they don't, it's going to be really bad for them, as they need to snowball. They need to find a lot of skirmishes early on, so they will be looking for them. You mentioned the Galio, you mentioned the Sion. That is going to be a lot of tools for them to try to find these skirmishes through. And it's also going to depend on how Grathwol and Tempo play. Because if they are too passive and they give up all sorts of vision in the bot side river, they will know what's going on, and it's also going to affect the mid lane. So in the bot lane, it's going to depend also on skill, but I do believe that Helsingør have the favorable matchup just because of their composition, and it's going to come down to the players to try to sway that around.
Lulu for Grathwol is... Lulu in general is a pick that... She is good once you get out of the laning phase, and she can be a lane bully, but playing against Illusion and Thresh will be a challenge to say the least, because one overextension and you are pretty much dead. So I'm looking at the bot lane for the side of Lyra.
Yes, I agree once again. Sorry, I believe it's either you or me cutting out. No worries. So yes, bot lane is going to be really important, especially as Illusion and Thresh will have the better laning phase all around the early game. Before they hit level 6, they're going to have more damage, more lockdown. After they hit level 6, they're still going to have more damage and more lockdown, especially if they manage to get a couple of kills. So if you don't see Thorpeter and I don't actually know getting a few kills in the early game, that's still fine. They can do that even after they hit level 6, so it is relatively a safe bot lane, a safe snowballing one, if I can call it that.
Yeah, Discord voice Pepega, I guess no. Kai'Sa and Lulu really, you said that that it's a safe bot lane for Lucian and Thresh, but after level 6, you have got that combination of the Killer Instinct and the Wild Growth. and I have seen it work aggressively very many times. So even though Kai'Sa Lulu not very early game tune bot lane, not that dominant, not known really for snowballing the lanes, they do have got the kill threat after the level 6, I feel like.
They can have the level 6 kill threat in a sense, however it is going to get outshined by illusions and thresh damage. Now, Kai'Sa's and Lulu's level 6 power spike can really come through if Kreiner decides to pay a visit to that bot lane, which I definitely feel like he should do. Kreiner is going to spend the entirety of this game around either mid lane or the bot side of the map, I feel like, because the top lane isn't really that good for him to try to snowball through, maybe in the really early game.
Alright, looks like we finally will be going in game, and I just want to shift your attention, everyone. Grathwall decided to opt in for the electrocute on a Lu.
Oh.
A big O.
That is a big... I'm not sure if I can call that even an O or an oof, because... Well, it's not something that you usually pick on Lulu. Generally, you would pick an electrocute on a mage support if you were going for a lot of early game damage and a lot of
AP Lulu.
I really don't want to see that, believe it or not.
Neither do I, to be honest.
So yeah. you generally take either Airy or something else. You can take technically the Guardian if you really are scared of the enemy bot lane, because it just gives you, more poke with the Airy. So, Electrocute, we may be seeing some cheese happening with Kreiner in the bot lane really early on. I think that's what that could signify that. If not, well, we'll just have to see how aggressively Grathwall can really play. And technically it can work, especially as Lucian doesn't really have the best of auto attack ranges. So, there is some merit to it. There are some possibility.
We will have to pay our attention to that bot lane to see what will happen. Both junglers are starting towards that bot side, so we could be seeing some level 1s. This is something that happened so many times already in the Wintersplit that I am pretty much expecting it as soon as the junglers start on their bot side, but looks like it will not really happen, at least not after the first.
At least not after the first buff. That's the important addendum that you have to add to that. Zack's level 2 isn't quite the best. As you can see, he's already struggling with keeping his HP up. However, he can have some really nice ganks, especially if he decides to go for the stretching strike second. So we may see him going over to the bot lane. Most likely not, as things are starting to look pretty damn calm all over the map, at least for now.
Yeah, no major CS. It's really Meller actually in that top lane, managing to get the early push in. However, pro mid lane player should get his CS back. That is a good trade for the Shen, but it should just result in Meller controlling this lane for the next minute or two, and not much more than.
And it makes sense. You mentioned that Shen has really good trading patterns in the early game, and he has a lot of damage with his Q, so again, it really makes sense that Meller is being dominant, at least right now. We'll have to see how that shifts throughout the laning phase, because if Meller doesn't keep the pressure up, which is a bit impossible, especially after that level 6, there may be some troubles brewing for Lyra, because if you cannot push this Scion under his turret over and over again, it allows him to roam, especially with that teleport. And we mentioned the possibility of a lot of roaming from Helsingør, so that is something that we'll have to keep a close eye on if Meller can really position the wave properly to just keep it under Sion's turret.
However, one thing that we actually have seen Meller do pretty well in the past is controlling that top lane on, well, pretty much whatever he picked. Part of that was due to the fact that he was in Division 2 as well last split, so he played against not quite Division 1 teams, but he's still doing that well in the past, and he's looking to just repeat that. But Clover, he is hanging around that top side.
Clover definitely can start to try and do something over there. He does have the setup with that Scion even so early on. It's not the safest of ganks, and so he will just look to turn over to his own lane for now. Oh, sorry, to his own jungle, not lane.
Jungle is a lane, change my mind.
well, what is a lane is mid lane, and Kreiner is just stretching himself.
He's now going in with that elastic slingshot, brings back Yu-Chang, but just it manages to get it all down to Killcore, flash away from the gun, and there goes the comet from Killcore for the first.
And that is the new Cassiopeia build, man. Before you would build Phase Rush with a lot of tanky items, but now you can just build Luden's Echo and you can get some cheesy kills like that one with that nice little comet. So good on Killcore getting himself the first kill of this game.
And that allows him for a very early lost chapter in that mid lane. He will be very happy with all the mana sustain he will be getting.
Most certainly, as he will be looking to finish that Luden's Echo as soon as he can. And this will also help him not surviving the laning phase, but actually dominating Yu-Chang over there as well. If Galio gets behind against someone like a mage rather than an assassin, he is going to have a surprisingly tough time, even though he does have the magic resist, the magic shield from his W.
Yeah, now we will just have to wait and see. An important thing is also that Killcore still has both of his summoners, so even if Yu-Chang and Clover try to get revenge in that mid lane, it will be very, very difficult to pin down that Cassiopeia.
Definitely. However, what I want to point your attention to is this bot lane, as Kai'Sa isn't losing any creeps. Instead, she is gaining a bit of a CS lead over Thurpeter. And that is surprising, given how much attention we paid to this Lucian pick and mentioned how dominant really they should be in this bottom lane. And if you look at the bot side portion of Lyra's jungle, it is completely unwarded. So that could also be detrimental to Helsingør in the longer run as soon as those jungle camps start spawning.
To give some credit to Grathwell, I have seen him chunk, I don't actually know, quite significantly with that electrocute, so that could be a part of the reason why we are seeing this CS
deficit,
even equality,
equalness. Yes, equality. That's what it is. We're all equals here. Now, in the meantime, Meller is just doing a really fantastic work with this top lane. He's just positioning the wave pretty much perfectly, making sure that every single wave that hits the turret is really, really huge. And that pro mid lane player loses out on a lot of creeps, as well as forcing him into really bad trades, really short ones, where Sion cannot really retaliate. So good on Meller for just showing his mastery over the top lane, at least for now.
Now Kreiner goes once again into the mid lane, will interrupt the hero expansion, brings back Yu-Chang into the middle of the lane, and there goes the petrifying gaze. Yu-Chang is trying to go, but so is Kreiner. He will not get popped up into the cell division until now. Killcore gets the first kill. Clover has to flash away, and if another kill just picked up by the mid laner of Lyra.
And a really nice petrifying gaze over there, just making sure that Chang cannot run away with that hero's entrance, or rather hero's goodbye. And that is a second kill on this Cassiopeia, and she will be looking really damn healthy, as she will be able to get the blasting wand as soon as she comes back. And I believe that there is just about 2 minutes of time left before she finishes that Luden's Echo.
And at that point, Lyra, they will have actually a very decent fighting capabilities. I talked about the dragon in the pre-show, and looks like Lyra, they are contesting it. Helsingør, they are looking whether they can, but as you said, not enough vision means that will be just a free Ocean Drake secured by Lyra.
That definitely is a blunder from the side of Helsingør. They should have had put more attention to the vision control there, especially that they do have the stronger bot lane. Clover also didn't think to check the Dragon Pit, even though he has the scrying orb right there, so a bit of a mistake from Helsingør giving away the Ocean Drake. So it's not the worst kind of trade-offs, but it's just going to mean that any poke that the bot lane of Helsingør decides to go for is going to be nullified.
And at this point, Lyra, we said that they will be happy with scaling slightly more, and it is the side of Helsingør that really needs to find these early leads. If you look at the gold difference, it is 1.5k in favor of Lyra at 9 minutes, but I will have to hold on to anything further as Clover, he's looking for that topside flash away from her. Here goes the unstoppable onslaught, finds his knockup, so does the decimating smash, and the dragon surge back into the minion wave. A beautiful gank executed by Helsingør nets them the kill.
That was a bit of an overkill, I have to say, from Clover, but really important that they are starting to find those early kills. The gold lead isn't the best for them right now, so they need to get everything that they can, especially on someone like that Lee Sin, who can really do a lot of damage, but he needs to snowball.
He needs, and he now gets his first kill at just over 9 minutes, so with that he will need to look to get it slightly more. Now Killcore, he's roaming down towards that bot side. The jungle is really unwarded, so he won't be spotted yet, but the hook also goes wide, and the bot lane of Helsingør, they are now under the turret, making any dives quite difficult to execute.
And once again, Helsingør do not have any wards down. They have one in the river, but that Tribush is undefended, which just allowed Killcore to almost go for a roam, if the wave management had been different.
Kreiner just decided to jump into that mid lane, not getting a whole lot done, just eating some turret shots. Not quite sure what the intention was behind that, but I guess Lyra don't lose anything, so that
works. They don't. Kreiner just wanted to say hello to that mid lane. He's been there a couple of times, so, you know, he just needed to remind himself that he should visit Yu Chang once again. And we're starting to see a lot of CS deficits popping up, especially for Lyra right now. I'm most surprised, again, by this Kai'Sa. I feel like I don't actually know, and Thorpeter are playing way too scared against this Lulu and Kai'Sa composition, because they could have outtraded them at several occasions. However, they are just not doing so.
I feel like I don't actually know. He maybe doesn't know. Oh, I will hold on to that thought, because in the top side there will be a gank. Kreiner does use this Treading Strike. Pro mid lane player tries to get in some damage. Clover now goes in with a Sonic Wave and the Resonating Strike, but not quite enough damage as the pro mid lane player falls down. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Gradful actually picks up the kill onto Thorpeter. Switching back into the top lane, Kreiner will fall to Clover, and overall on the map 2-for-1 in favor of Lyra.
And in that bot lane, that's what happens when you don't fight together, but I don't actually know.
Grathul does use the wide roll onto himself, will fall down, but so does I don't actually know. High Aim Tempo gets the kill in the end.
And now just one more kill going over into the pockets of Kai'Sa, but I have to criticize Helsingør, but the teleport is going down, and Tempo didn't look.
Yu Chang will have a very, very big surprise for that Kai'Sa. He goes in with the adjustment.
Oh no!
He does not get the Shield of Duran. Here goes Stand United. Tempo and Miller could be very well able to 2v2 right now. Thorpeter joins the fight. Get double taunt from Miller, and the Captain Win gets the kill now. Thorpeter tries to flash out, but the double kill for High Aim Tempo will fly in.
So there was a significant problem for Yu Chang there. He didn't have a real way to engage on this Kai'Sa. He couldn't jump in with the hero's entrance because Thorpeter was there too late, as he couldn't be there any faster, really. And well, at that point it was just free for Tempo to try to run away and pocket himself 2 more kills, and that is just, that is not good if you're playing against the scaling hypercarry.
Oh, it isn't at all, and if you take a look at the items, you have already the first items completed across the board for the side of Lyra. Grathwall is working towards his Ardent Sensor, and Thorpeter, yes, he will be getting that Blade of the Ruin King in about a minute or so, and Yu Chang does have the Proto Belt, but those are about the only major items that have been finished.
Certainly, we are now going to have to look at how soon can Thorpeter really finish that Blade of the Ruined King, because that is one of his most important power spikes together with the Black Cleaver. However, right now, Tempo and Grathwall are perfectly controlling the bot lane, which really means that Clover cannot do too terrifyingly much in the bot side, so he's just been babysitting top.
And Kreiner, he tries to go in for the gank. A good flash from the pro mid lane player will mean that no capture from Kreiner will occur. Clover is sitting in that Tribush. but I'm not sure if he will find his gang. And now the bot lane is pushing up from the Lyra. We could be looking at the forward as well, but I don't actually know. He just gets bursted down. Clover does the instinct onto Grapple, but High Tempo goes in under the time. When the killer has been picks up Thor Peter, a 2-4-1 in favor of Lyra for now. A good flash from High Tempo to dodge away from the Sonic Wave, and right now he will just take away the Blast Cone to safety. And Lyra managed to turn around a 4 versus 2.
And I have to commend Tempo for stalling out as much time as he did. Now Lyra are going to likely be able to pick up that turret. Okay, they won't be. Unfortunate, but really important that he got them the time. Swift moves from Clover, however in the end it was not quite enough, and it just means that even that gank will be able to push Lyra slightly more ahead, as now the mid lane turret is sitting on, ladies and gentlemen, 65 HP.
We're so short of the perfection. No, just joking.
No.
Yes, it has been said. Alright, anyways, we are now hitting the 15th minute mark, and Lyra, they are getting ahead in a team composition with which we thought they would be behind. And at this point, Helsingør, they really need to try and find isolated plays, but with a 4-0 Kai'Sa, 4 tempo, and already the first time in the mid lane falling down, how do they even go about doing so?
Well, Thor Peter has finished that first crucial item, the Blade of the Ruined King, so he can start to look doing something. However, he may be a bit over-eager to try to do that little something now that Killcore is in that bot lane. And at this point, this might be the first time that I say, please don't try to do something. But yes, see, the thing about Lyric's composition is that they're however, they also have good early game damage in the form of Cassiopeia. And well, yeah, Helsingør cannot really contest that dragon, not even with the culling from Thor Peter.
Yeah, another pickup for the side of Lyra, which will give them quite significant sustain as you move into that mid game. Not the game-breaking dragon, but definitely happy to have it on their side. And you know, we are just waiting and waiting for Helsingør to really make their move. And we have seen Clover try some things. There was a nice insect in the bot lane, but it just really hasn't been able to amount to enough in that game so far.
Definitely. At this point, Lee Sin's significance will start to lower and lower itself as we move further into the game, such as will the Ocean Drakes as well. And at this point, Lyra, they don't necessarily want to end the laning phase just yet. Yes, the mid lane turret has been taken from Killcore. However, the rest of the map for Lyra can still just look to chill out.
There goes a bot lane double capture back under the turret. Grathul picks up Thor Peter. There goes the Death Sentence onto Tempo, but the Thresh is stuck under his own turret and he will fall down as Kai'Sa goes unstoppable. Now Killcore is on his way up towards that top lane. Pro mid lane player has got the unstoppable also available, and a good flash interrupt from Meller gets Killcore the kill, and Lyra get themselves 3 on the map.
And sure, Lyra could just chill out, sit back and relax, but no, they're going for even more fights, which I'm honestly grateful for. Sorry. As they are starting to utilize the full damage potential of this Luden's Echo on Killcore, as well as, well, this now 5-0 Kai'Sa.
Killcore is just going for Clover under the turret. He does not care about it. He picks up the rampage kill, and Lyra, they are just snowballing out of control.
And it's a bit surprising given their team composition. It really wasn't meant to, but now you have finished the Rage Blade on Kai'Sa, and while that isn't the most important power spike, it's still going to give her a lot of damage compared to Thor Peter. You also have Killcore on his way to finish his second item. And well, things are starting to look grim for Helsingør. However, they still can come back into this game if they pull off a couple of nice plays off on the back of Thor Peter right now. They have the engage, and they still do have the damage.
They definitely do. However, the Baron will be spawning in just 2 minutes, and we've got the 2 items on Killcore, 2 items on Tempo, Ardent Sensor on Grathwall, and Meller has been able to control the side lane for pretty much the entire game. And Lyra, on top of that, they will be just looking to get themselves yet another pick in the top side as pro mid lane player. He's found in a 1 versus 3 and will be taken down.
Yeah, he was just standing there. There wasn't really much that he could do against so much CC. from those three members. In the bot lane.
Yeah, Meller in the bot lane, he will just give up the turret, which is fair. I don't think you can really 1 versus 4 as a Shen. And Lyra, they will be looking to respond up in that top side.
So while that was a good proactive play from Helsingør, they still are going to lose out on the second tier turret. I believe that teleport is going to be wasted, as Hu Chang is likely going to die as soon as he comes there.
He does get a 3-man tone up in that top side. He should get out. Flash away. Now Tempo follows up with a killer instinct, but he just gets rooted up, and Grattle cannot save him. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Thorpeter actually gets the kill onto Meller. Helsingør get 2 on the map. Hu Chang tries to continue the chase. So do Prominent Pillar and Clover, but Grattle and Kreiner should be able to just make it out in time.
And that was simply greedy from Lyra. They saw that Hu Chang had flashed already. They did not have vision anywhere further down the lane than that. They should have had just backed. However, in the meantime, Kilcore managed to secure the second tier turret in the mid lane as well. So, technically all is well and good for them right now, even though they are starting to get pressured in the bot lane, as it won't be amounting to too terribly much unless Kilcore gets caught out. But no, the bot lane will just safely back.
And now the Baron is live, and just look at the vision control by Lyra in the jungle. Pretty much all of the wards I can see on the map are red right now. That means that communism is spreading, and it looks like Helsingør, they're just not doing anything about it.
Yeah, well, let's not push our political agendas on the stream, shall we?
I never said I support this.
Okay, let's just keep politics out of this. It's League of Legends, not a League of Stalin. Okay. Moving on, right. yes, you're still right. Most of the wards are still reds. And it's not too terribly surprising, given how much dominance Lyra have really shown in this early game thus far. It'll be surprising to see them lacking right now in the vision department.
Well, look at that Baron. You've got the Cassiopeia and the Kai'Sa. This will be a fairly fast Baron take in the bot lane from Helsingør. They're just in the bot lane, as the name suggests. And the Baron will be taken easily by Lyra, smited away by Kreiner. No contest whatsoever.
And that is really unfortunate if you're Helsingør right now. You were supposed to snowball, and now you have the opposite team doing exactly that. And the window of opportunity is slowly starting to shrink, as your power spikes will not amount to as much as theirs.
Now Tempo goes into the pit. Thorpeter still tries to finish the dragon.
Bad lantern.
Yeah, he will not even be able to take it. Tempo just takes an easy Drake pick, and now Meller, he will just dash over the wall to relative safety. Tempo is looking for blood though. Here goes Stand United, a hook will land, but that just brings Meller into the fight. There goes the wild girl. High-Am Tempo gets the kill onto I don't actually know. He now flashes over, goes in with the kill instinct onto Thorpeter. Double taunt from Hu Chang will buy some time. Clover gets brought back into the entire team of Lyra and taken down now in the top lane. Kilcore will actually be able to melt through pro mid lane player, and Lyra, they're just capitalizing on their advantages and taking whatever fights they wish to take.
Yeah, this is what we call a stomp, ladies and gentlemen. Lyra are currently winning on all sides of the map, just because they are so stronger individually with their power spikes right now. Now, Hu Chang,
he's trying to make it work under the turret, but High-Am Tempo just will pick up his 9th kill of the game. The base is broken. They are looking for more. They will be just taking down that inhibitor. Clover is now respawned, so Lyra will reevaluate their situation and decide to spend all their gold or just pick up the bot lane.
They can look to take that one. A new wave has just freshly arrived, so they can even look to pressure the inhibitor turret, as Kilcore is sitting still in the mid lane. It looks like they will be going for it. They can definitely still kill Helsingør right now.
A hook will connect onto Kreiner, but Lyra, they're just comfortably sitting under that turret. Hu Chang has spawned only now. The inhibitor is under attack. We could be seeing a 5 versus 5. But Lyra, they just decide not to take unnecessary risks, and now they will just back out to their base.
And this is very much the style that we have been seeing from Lyra in the past. They are a very, I'm going to say, a composed team. Yes, there are some mistakes that they do with positioning, and there is the famous 50-50 Lyra Baron. But when you look at Lyra objectively, it's always a team that can make those crucial decisions in a really quick succession. and in the end not give up too many opportunities to the other team if they do not force it, which Helsingør, they haven't really been aggressive at all this game, and that is why Lyra are looking as strong as they are.
There was literally nothing stopping the side of Lyra from doing what they are right now. The Assault Onslaught will be burned by pro mid lane player, yet another cooldown to add to the not available list for the side of Helsingør, and Lyra with the Baron buff with Inhibitor down in the mid lane, they just will be looking to slowly close this game out.
They will have that Baron buff lasting in the top lane for Tempo and Grathwol for a bit longer. They can maybe take the Inhibitor even with that.
Look at the bot lane though. Oh, Clover does not quite manage to secure the insect. Here goes Clover and just flash hook onto Killcore. Forces the cleanse, double stun with the petrifying gate. He's still under continue though, and will get shut down by Huchak. A 4-man capture from Kreiner, and the health bars on Helsingør are just melting. Miller 1 versus 4. He is still holding his ground. Will get detoned out and get pro mid lane player, but look at the mid lane. All that time Tempo and Grathwol, they just were picking up the trident. There goes the Kaiser with the kill instinct, picking up the kill. Thorpeter trying to escape. He will just get slowed down with the glitter last. A double kill for Tempo and Clover, and I don't actually know the only 2 members left alive. But Lyra will surely now go for the finish and just take the game 1 victory after polishing off their KDAs.
Yeah, they were just styling on Helsingør Ungdomsskole at this point. They're just happy with playing League of Legends. They played their style and they weren't countered by anything that Helsingør could have tried to do, as they weren't playing aggressive enough, which I think is going to be the main lesson for Ungdomsskole going into the second game, or maybe just try to change up their draft a bit if we're seeing that their aggressive playstyle isn't really going too well.
We want to see just Helsingør either pick a composition that fits in what they have shown right now, some more scaling, or play more aggressively. Very convincing, but only lost a couple of kills in the fights, and yet they are looking very, very confident. How do you think game 2 will go? What Helsingør will change, and can they really come back, or is Lyra just looking very, very strong?
See, I had a lot of questions going to you. They haven't really shown us anything in the first one, because that was, well, a stomp. And in the second one, we are seeing that they are playing against a team that is really good at team fighting, and they pick an aggressive composition, and they are unable to beat them in the early game, which is a really bad telltale sign to me. So now, when we are going to see someone trying to pick a more scaling team composition, I have to wonder and be cynical about how the second game is going to go. Because if they cannot beat them in the early game with an aggressive team, what can they really do with a passive one?
Well, this will be something that we'll unfortunately have to wait and see how it will turn out. Good performance from Lyra. They get the win in the game 1, but we'll go into the short break to see if they will get the 2-0. Or if Helsingør will take us to game. Welcome back everyone, we are just a few minutes away from going into the draft for Game 2. Welcome back, Karim. What do you think we
Hi.
can expect to change?
What we can expect to change? Well, once again, I sort of like to differ the sort of mistakes that we see in all of these games into what can change from game to game and what cannot. What I think that can change in the second one is I believe that Hugh Chang is going to have to play more safely if he is going to be facing against, once again, a really gank-heavy jungler. If Kreiner manages to get his hands on that, if Kilcore decides to go for something aggressive, it's also going to be the same story. So we're going to need to see Hugh Chang really not fall behind. Same story is going to be if Thorpeter and I don't actually know are going to actually go for something really aggressive like we saw in the first one. If they pick a dominant bot lane, we have to see them going really dominant. We have to see them be really aggressive or just try to change up the draft. We'll see which one of these options they decide to choose, as the first one would be most likely a bit more difficult to do from a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, in the game one, it really did seem like the bot lane of Helsingør, they just didn't really play as aggressive as they should have, which you could argue definitely didn't help them. Clover, though, he was the person that actually tried to find some place. As we will be going into the draft, I will just continue with my point.
Yes.
He did find some ganks. I'm looking at him, if Helsingør want to take that game too, to put him maybe as well on the Lee Sin, but have some even better setup around him and get him to snowball some lanes.
Most certainly, and one of the things that I noticed with Clover was that he focused a lot on the top lane, where pro mid lane player was on a Sion, which isn't a champion that you really want to see snowballing. So I do believe that we can expect Clover to be going into the bot side of the map more, now that he knows that he cannot really snowball a tank too well.
Lyra just removing quite a lot of mid lane champions. Looks like Hugh Chang once again, he will actually have to play something that we haven't really seen him, though on the other side Helsingør they just ban away the Galio, Anivia and the Sejuani, once again taken off Kreiner, and there goes the Urgot first pick for Meller, I would assume.
I like that. I believe that we have seen Meller play this Urgot to great proficiency. It was either him or Kilcore. However, I do believe that it was Meller, so I am really excited to see if he is going to be able to dominate this Sion early on. He has the tools and he will have a lot of damage, especially if he gets to snowball. But Helsingør, they are going for the same kind of lineup as last time. Thresh is also open, so we can likely expect... Okay, I bite my words. Thresh isn't open.
It was open and it was picked up by Lyra, and that's a Thresh Kalista lane. Alright, bringing some early spice into the bot lane.
I like that. I really like that. Alistair, oh baby, yes, give me the early game spice for this bot lane. Now, Kalista, she is sort of the trademark AD carry in 2018 meme material. However, she did get a kind of a buff, or rather, a sort of shift in power where Riot took away most of her scaling portions and they put them into raw damage output in the early game. So now you will have Kalista spiking way earlier, and she will maybe be able to deal with this Lucian. However, Lucian and Alistair are still going to have a lot of engage potential. So I am looking at what Lyra decide to pick for their jungler, because we could see Kreiner on something like a Xin Zhao that packs not the lockdown, but rather a lot of damage, as every single lane that is right now locked in for Lyra has enough CC already ready.
Both our junglers actually have to still get their champions. Zac and Lee Sin will be removed, so we are guaranteed to see a new pick in the series, and I'm just excited to see what both of these teams will decide to go for. Will they try to play around their bot side, because from what I see so far, that will be probably the most viable way to win the game. That will obviously depend on what their mid laner and the actual jungler will be, and there's the Xin Zhao you talked about, will be picked up by Helsingør.
I like that, taking it away from Kreiner. I am not sure if that was the original intention of Helsingør, but it means that Kreiner is going to have to reach a bit deeper into his champion pool, and Trundle, okay. We're going old school with his team composition, aren't we? We're going back to the middle of the Season 8. We haven't seen Trundle really lately in competitive scene, just because he fell out of the meta, as he didn't really offer too many gank potential. or the real 1v1ing potential, as he does fall to some champions like that Xin Zhao in a pure 1v1. So I am really excited to see what he can do, and Zilean to top it all off, man. This is going to be one hell of a game.
Yeah, it's rewind time. Zilean will be picked in that mid lane. So Lyra, they are actually getting a composition that will be just so good at making sure their front line stays alive, and Kalista, I mean, she'll just have so much room to maneuver around any team fight, but there is the Malzahar for the side of Helsingør.
And a lot of comfort picks just all around right now. I am unsure if Kalista is a comfort pick for Tempo, however you wouldn't normally see it be picked by someone who has no idea what they're doing on this specific champion, as she is really mechanically intensive. But I believe that we are going to have a lot of fun in the early game. We will have a lot of fighting in the bot lane. Urgot can also do something in the top lane. Zilean Malzahar, well, that's gonna be a bit of a farm fest. But, you know, the rest of the map is going to be really interesting, so it's really going to come down which of these teams can play around the early game better. Because from what we've seen, this was the old Lyra lineup, but from what we've seen from them was that they also lacked in the early game aggression. So maybe if they don't really have the safe kind of team composition, they will feel pressured and will make more mistakes, which Helsingør could utilize.
Yeah, I'm just also looking at the junglers in the early game. Last time I said that the level 2 ganks were something we commonly saw. Didn't happen. Xin Zhao is a considerably better pick at doing that. And if we will see Clover decide to pay a visit into that bot lane while Thresh and Kalista are on level 1, this could turn out to be really good. So junglers and the bot lane, I am looking mainly at them to see how their synergy, how their actions and the way they are working together and picking the fights will net these teams the least that they need to close the game out.
Definitely, and we didn't really see too many invades happening in the last game, where I predicted that Helsingør would be able to push Lyra out of the bot lane and allow for Clover to move in. That happened for like the first 3 minutes, and then it was all even. So it's going to be now less one-sided in the team composition itself, and it's going to be more about the players themselves once again. So again, I am really looking forward to how the teams can play around with their junglers, because it isn't something that we too commonly see. You know, junglers cooperating with the lane members to go for an invade. And if one of the teams decides to do it, it can be a really powerful tool, especially in this lineup. Alright,
and yeah, that is a very powerful tool, especially if you consider that when you manage to invade with your laners the enemy jungler, not only does that put your jungler and pretty much the laners, if they pick up the kill ahead, it is also a powerful way to shut down a jungler, and the Xin Zhao or pretty much the Trundle that are put behind significantly will be the ones that struggle in the mid.
And I am looking mainly on the bot lane of Lyra to try to gain some of those advantages and try to punish Clover for picking someone like that Xin Zhao, because if you manage to shut Trundle down, it's not going to be as terrible, because he can still opt to build really tanky. And, well, he isn't going to really rely on damage, and instead is going to turn into a frontliner. Whereas Xin Zhao, he cannot really do that. He has to snowball. So, if you're going to see Tempo, Grathwol, and Kreiner working together in the bot side, it's going to be even more tremendous in the big scale impact than if you would see Helsingør doing the same thing over and there, bot side of the map.
Alright, looking at the compositions as a whole, let's take Helsingør first. They have got Cyan in the top lane as a tank, and the Alistar also will be there to provide that AoE CC. Thorpeter once again on a Lucian. Huchang will have that lockdown with the Malzahar, and Clover is on a Xin Zhao that can provide this early game jungling power. How will they try to actually play this composition to its fullest extent, and what are their win conditions?
What the win conditions are for the lineup of Helsingør? Well, when we look at both top lane and mid lane, it's going to be a big farm fest. From mid lane player, however, will have once again a really tough time playing against Meller, because he is a really good top laner that can set up these waves to make sure that, you know, pro mid lane player doesn't pick up his farm, and he's going to have an even easier time now that he will have his hands on something like that Urgot, where he can poke him from afar. So it's going to be a difficult matchup for pro mid lane player to do that, and he just has to survive. Mid lane is a farm fest, I've already mentioned that, unless the junglers come about, and in the bot lane, I would have had liked Alistar Kalista better, because it is just honestly the better synergy. It's still going to be really good to have this Thresh there, but Lucian and Alistar can really try to shut them down, because Kalista likes to hop around, that's true, but what can you really do if Alistar just point and clicks on you and then knocks you up in the air? You're super squishy as Kalista, and you can blow up immediately. So that is something that Thorpeter and I don't actually know will have to utilize, their sheer burst damage from the beginning. And this is where it comes full circle once again. Can the bot lane of Helsingør be proactive in the early game? Because if they aren't, they are going to suffer the exact same fate as it last time around.
Alright then, well, early game bot side aggression will be what Helsingør really need to play around. Well, how do Lyra do they try the same thing? Because they also have a very, very strong bot lane, mid lane, as you said, it's a farm fest, and Meller, whilst I would expect him, based off what we've seen already, to just push in the pro mid lane player and get some CS leads, it's not necessarily a snowball lane. So is it the same story for Lyra, or are there some things that are different?
It definitely isn't the same story for Lyra, because Kalista isn't the most snowbally of champions. Of course, she can snowball really hard. However, she doesn't have the same tools as someone like the Lucian has. I believe that Thresh is going to play a more supportive role rather than a proactive one. He isn't going to be looking for too many early all-ins because, well, he is still going to be facing that Alistar and Lucian, who can both blow him up super quickly, as well as the Kalista. What I am still looking at is Kreiner in the bot lane. If they have this big Trundle in there with them, they can definitely look to try to set up a fight, as Alistar doesn't really have too much mobility to try and run away from the death sentence from Grathwohl. So there is a lot of engage potential there, especially after Kalista hits that level 6 and she can just, decide to throw this poor ghost man at the enemy cow and a normal man. So, there's going to be a lot of engage potential past level 6, so the bot lane of Lyra is going to be proactive only if Kreiner decides to step his foot in there.
Alright then guys, let us know in the chat, who do you think will take the game to end, or the series as a whole? Do you think that Lyra will just take this game and close the series out, or do you think that we will go into that game 3 with a Helsingør victory? I will be looking in there, and we are just a few minutes away from finally going into the game. Unfortunately, we're not a Riot event. Spectator delay is a thing.
One day we're going to have the privilege to maybe be at a Riot event. Who knows? We're going places, Kachka. I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah, we are going. In which sense though? Because I feel like the more as if we
under the bridge.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that kind of places. But
okay, good.
It's fine. We're going somewhere, so that's important. It's all about improving, which is this tournament also focused around. And once again, wow, I'm still sick.
Are you okay?
No, I'm still sick. So,
okay.
This entire tournament is sort of a learning event also, because let's be frank, it isn't the highest paid or highest prestigious kind of deal. However, it really allows for all of these players to test their skills out against one another, and we have a lot of old players, even some players that have been playing for quite a while, and I believe that the Helsingør are a team that isn't too old or veteran, I dare say, so that may be one of the reasons that they are looking a bit green against someone like the Lyra team, because they have been here for a while.
Yeah, well, you talked about improvement. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Helsingør improve from the last game and get themselves some early game advantages, because this is what they need to do. Now, I don't actually know, maybe he just doesn't like playing Thresh into Lulu. Well, now he gets to play the Alistar, so I'm looking forward to see him either make plays in the bot lane or maybe even try and roam around the map, although snowballing Malzahar isn't necessarily what you tend to do. But yeah, definitely a lot of room for improvement for the side of Helsingør. Lyra could improve as well, just, you know, get a perfect game rolling in, so we'll have to see if they can do that as well.
Well, when you're talking of improvement for someone to be just the perfect game, it kind of tells you that there isn't much room to improve. But yes, Lyra, they have shown us that there are some mistakes in their lineup, which was pretty much just positioning around the map. However, Helsingør were unable to really capitalize on it, and that is why, as a result, Lyra lineup just was able to completely dismantle them, and that has been the story of theirs for as long as we have been casting them, really. If you don't really shut Lyra down, or even if you give them a couple of advantages, they'll be able to just run over you, no matter how many mistakes they make, because they're just going to get up and just try to beat you down, once again, with a 50-50 Baron or the like.
Yeah, also one thing just throwing back through mind everyone, Miller, he wasn't playing on Lyra all of the time, he was actually on Cepheus in the first half of the split, but since the division deciders, he actually hasn't lost a Nex. Which, I mean, he wasn't playing against the top teams, he was in Division 2, but if you ask me, it is still an impressive thing to do.
And I have to say, from watching Miller since the division deciders, it has been really interesting to see him sort of transform from that Tryndamere one-trick into someone who can control the wave as well as he did against pro mid lane player. Now, he does have the easy level kind of thing, where he's against a Scion, so he isn't going to amount to too terribly much. I would be really interested to see how he can fare against someone like a Bruiser, maybe someone like a Darius, because that really tests your mechanical and just macro prowess as a top laner. But still, Miller is one of the more interesting cases in the SRG lore.
Wintersplit?
Yes, in the SRG Wintersplit lore. And I believe that there is a story waiting for Helsingør as well, so again, we're just gonna have to see how they can turn out throughout the split.
Yeah, it's all up to history to just write itself, and for us to have our beautiful voices over pretty much everything.
Is that how that saying goes?
No, it isn't.
Okay,
Definitely isn't. I just made it on the spot.
Sure. Well, you're really good at creating stuff. I don't know.
Well, now there will be some gameplay. I'm really sorry for the spectator delay, but now we're in game, so hopefully we can get some nice stuff. And Lyra, they are looking for some 5-man sort of invade, but they should be spotted out by Helsingør as soon as they come out of this brush.
They will likely be seen, however...
Grathwool, he's still walking up, and the good flash hook, but will be also flashed away from by I don't actually know. So just a trade of summoners on the supports. And
this pretty much denies any level 2 gang that Helsingør could have had gone for, because now you do not have the flash on the Alistar, and the only CC that he could have had and in level 1 would be the knock-up, and now, well, he is not going to be able to perform a nice little W flash, so alas, another fate of an engaged Alistar just ruined. So we're just likely going to see a regular game be played out on the bot lane, at least from the level 1 and 2.
Clover will be starting up towards that red buff, so will the Kreiner, but that does mean that Kreiner has got that opportunity to go for an early gank, though if the last game is anything to go by, it likely won't happen.
It likely won't. If it will, well, we're just going to have to see. Pro mid lane player actually spent a lot of time on that red buff. He will be losing a couple of creeps as a result of that, a little bit of an overstay at that red buff, but hey, maybe he just really wanted to help Clover because he's running to his lane right now. Well, I will have to bite myself on my words right now, because Clover, he's looking for that level 2 gank in the top lane. He will now go on to Miller, does stack him with the slow, and a flash will be forced early on from the top laner of Lyra. And a strange choice of ability pickups from Clover. He decided to go for first dash and then the spear, where he couldn't really do too much there, as he was pretty much relying completely on mid lane players' lockdown, so there wasn't anything that he could do against Miller, so maybe a bit of an over-exaggerated flash from him.
Good death sentence onto Thorpeter. He will eat some damage as a result of that. No kill going in quite yet. The Lyra bot lane, they are trying to just push their advantage in that early game as much as possible with that match.
And right now we are just seeing Clover taking Kriner's blue buff.
Oh, the death sentence in the bot lane onto Thorpeter. Max range and the ignite will get the kill. I don't actually know. He has nowhere to run. The rend from high tempo will not even be used. Just an auto attack to finish off the kill.
And really important to see Grathwol utilizing that Thresh aggressiveness that we didn't see in the first one. This is the true potential that the champion has. Especially if you pair him up with someone that has enough damage in the early game, and while Kalista isn't the strongest one in that regard, she can still pull off a lot of nice feats.
And we have now just seen that Tempo will recall back to the base. With 900 gold to spare, will pick up the Vampiric Scepter, and he will be very, very happy returning to that lane with the extra sustain.
Most certainly, as now he will be able to lane a bit more efficiently. He isn't going to be too terribly scared of the Alistar and Lucian, at least right now, even though they are still going to have more damage. What I am still looking at is how quickly I don't actually know, is going to have his flash up, because if it is soon, that is going to spell a lot of trouble for Tempo.
Yeah, Flash Alistar engage can be very, very dangerous and hard to really avoid, even with Grathwol on Thresh on your side now. Kriner is making his way down towards the mid lane, but Huchang just backs out, and so does Kriner. So going in down there. Oh, look at the bot lane, double knockup by the Alistar. No kill going either way. The side of Helsingør just decide not to overcommit into that trade in the end.
And a nice couple of death sentences being thrown at by Grathwol over and over and over again. Really just utilizing the mispositioning, but in the top lane,
Meller nearly gets the kill.
Pro mid lane player, maybe a rookie top lane player from what we have seen him playing against Meller. Now Meller knows that the Clover is there.
And he does attack him with the slow by the corrosive charge, but no mana, no flash. He will try his best to escape, but there goes this slow, and the spear from Clover, flash forward, knock up to secure the kill.
Really unfortunate that Meller had utilized the flash to escape from the first gang. Now he was unable to do so from the second one, and the kill goes over to Xin Zhao in a really easy fashion. He did have to burn the flash himself though, so that is again going to be one less of an engage tool for him to use.
At least right now Helsingør and Clover in particular, he is making plays earlier on, and he gets himself that one kill on the Xin Zhao, which could be turned into more, as Kriner, he's looking for a bottling gang. There goes the Dark Passage. Thorpeter is gonna get knocked away by the pillar. The death sentence connects onto I don't actually know instead, which will save his AD carry. Only flash has to be burned.
Really important that I don't actually know did take that death sentence in the end. It wasn't really looking like it was going to hit Thorpeter, but at least it's nice seeing that his support was there for him, and a lot of dominance being displayed by the bot lane of Lyra this early on.
Look at the top lane, there goes the Fear Beyond Death from Meller. He will not quite find enough damage in time. Decimating Smash from Pro Mid Lane player will tag Meller. Meanwhile, the Dragon falls in favor of Lyra. Oh, look at the bot lane, because Tempo is going to get knocked up. Double flame from Grathwol. Thorpeter is trying to find the damage, but Ignite will take him down. The top laners, they're still fighting the top lane. Meller will be getting the kill in the end. And now switching back into the bot side, Jungle Clover. He gets knocked away by the pillar, tagged by the death sentence, and Tempo gets on a killing spree.
And Grathwol is just styling on Helsingør right now. He's hitting a hook after hook after hook, and there is pretty much nothing that Helsingør can at this point do to avoid them. Kalista has 3 kills. She will be finishing up that Blade of the Rune King really shortly. And while it isn't the most powerful of spikes, it's still not good to have a hyper carry this fed this early on.
A very similar story to the last game from Lyra. They managed to now get 3-0-1 onto Tempo, and Grathwol on this Thresh, he has been very impressive with the plays he has been pulling out so far.
I have to agree, he is the more, I dare say, the more important link of the Lyra's bot lane right now, as Tempo is just hopping around, picking up kills, and you have to remember, this is before they hit level 6. And the bot lane of Helsingør isn't going to reach that for a bit longer compared to Lyra. So there is there is a pretty big window of the pretty big window that they can utilize to just jump on them and secure themselves an even bigger item lead.
Just take a look. You mentioned it, the items, Tempo, the Build Water Catalyst, and the Berserker Greaves. This guy will just have so much damage as well with the press the attack, but I will have to hold on to any other point as in the top lane there will be a 2 versus 2. Clover already pops the Crescent Guard, but he's just melted through. Miller gets the kill in the end. Pro mid player has got the unstoppable onslaught and it will get him out to safety.
Luckily for him, not so luckily for Clover at this point, as he is giving away one more kill to the Urgot. I mentioned that you do not want a snowballing Urgot against you. And well, he is getting really close to finishing that Black Cleaver at just about 10 minutes in, as he's just finding a trade after trade after trade on the pro mid lane player.
Yeah, Miller has been doing such a great job this game by just controlling that top lane. Already a CS lead, pretty heavy one is developed. Now look at the mid lane. Hu Chang will get standing up, has to flash away. There goes the pillar to slow him down, and Kreiner gets the kill with the head of a club.
And once again, we are seeing a really similar story to the first one. To the first game. We just see one lane start winning really heavily. The first game it was mid lane, now it is the bot lane of Lyra, and then it just snowballs because every single member of that team is just so far ahead. Meller just sort of slaughters Sion in the meantime. And that just proves my point. Every single member of Lyra is just running Helsingør over at this point. And it's just individual prowess at this point more than anything else.
Miller just getting that solo kill in the top lane. Tempo doing so well as well with the Lyra. We wondered before the game, will he be able to fit in? Will Lyra still be performing well with a substitute that isn't really their full-time AD carry? It seems like the answer is yes.
Definitely, and the bot lane is even more reliant on synergy and communication than any other lane.
Oh, a death sentence will connect onto Thor Peter. He gets slowed down with the edge of the box, and Tempo just pulls out the spears and gets the kill on a rampage. Now, I don't actually know, no ultimate available. There goes the double for Tempo. Kreiner in the jungle, he's finding a great double stun coming in from Killco. Kreiner gets himself the double kill, and Lyra, they are just pushing the pedal harder than last game.
They are most certainly. I have to agree with you there. They're just going all out in the second one. They didn't have enough apparently in the first game, and they are just, as you said, accelerating pedal to the metal. They're taking every single plate from these turrets, and that will just be so much more extra gold that will let them snowball even harder. Torpedo just has to give that turret away. And well, I believe that will be it for Kalista to finish her Blade of the Ruined King at 11 minutes in.
It most certainly will be. She's currently bagging with 2300 gold. Miller is once again trading against pro mid lane player. The exhaust is going down, and Miller just gets himself yet another kill in that top lane.
And this is the problem that you have when you're facing an Urgot that has picked up his Black Cleaver really early on. Or, in translation, if he has a couple of kills, you're not going to be able to out-trade him, even with someone like that Sion, who has pretty good trades overall and is really tanky. And well, at this point, Helsingør have failed once again on their early game objectives.
Another death sentence connects onto, I don't actually know, he gets a good pulverized up which will secure the disengage, but both top laners, they are teleporting into that fight. The pro mid lane player will just get brought back into the team and cut down by Tempo. Killcore will have to run the other way. Now Miller flashes forward, he gets the foot back onto Thorpeter, who flashes out. Hu Chang is trying to collapse onto Miller, who will just take the Dark Passage away to safety, and Lyra, they are just getting away with so many kills. The death sentence from Gathwol will not connect, but Clover is just cut out. He does pop down the Crescent Guard, but Kryder goes on a rampage. I don't actually know, tries to flash away, and he will be able to zone out. Temple flashes forward, gets the kill in the end. The hook onto Thor Peter seals his fate, and Huchang tries to go away with that blast cone. Gathwol is on the chase, the flight to pop down this shield. The death sentence just narrowly misses, and Huchang, one of the only people from Helsingør to make it out alive.
And that is just so much damage right now sitting on that Callista. I mentioned that she did get a couple of buffs, or rather tweaks, to her early game, and right now that is showing so much damage, being able to just pop away, I don't actually know, with a single spear and a rend. And well, there may just not be something that Helsingør can do at this point to really shut them down, because well, they are so far ahead. They need a couple of items. They need to finish that Blade of the Ruined King on Lucian, and maybe then they can start talking of maybe mounting a comeback.
I just want to point to your attention that first item have been finished before Alistar hit level 6.
Yes.
The bot lane from Helsingør has been put so far behind. It's just honestly insane how far Tempo and Gathwol have been able to take their snowball to, and just completely make sure that there is barely anything that Helsingør can now do to even try and win this game.
And that is the difference that you have between the bot lanes of Lyra and Helsingør Ungdomsskole, because well, Lyra, they are proactive, they know how to push their advantages, which is something that you necessarily need to do if you're playing with someone like the Thresh. And now
there
in the
will
mid
be a
lane,
skirmish in the mid lane, just ultimates traded, the Fear Beyond Death for the Unstoppable. So now Gathwol is looking for a hook, he catches out, I don't actually know, whose health bar is just going to absolutely melt. Oh, there goes the Unbreakable Will, but Tempo is still legendary. He now pops the Fate's Call. Gathwol gets down the box, a double flake. Clover is trying to get the kills, but a double kill for Tempo. He's looking for the triple, and there is nothing stopping this Callista from taking over the match in the mid lane. Though there goes the Nether Grasp onto Kilcore, who will take a lot of damage. Chrono Shift will be forced away, but Huchang might not quite have enough to secure the kill anyways, and the turret in the top side falls as Lyra they're just completely dismantling Helsingør. Yeah, I'm sorry at this point.
it's okay, no worries. And right now you have 10 kills sitting on high on Tempo. That is a lot. That is going to be because he hasn't even backed yet from that nice little excursion down in the bot lane. He will be able to pick up so many items, and well, 20 kills for Lyra.
15 minutes.
Yeah, a bit of more than a 10,000 gold lead for Lyra right now. Well, that is quite the pickle that Helsingør have found themselves in, but it is all on the back of their bad early game. Now, Lyra aren't a team that really are known for their early game, and yet they are just completely styling on Helsingør before the 20th minute. So that is going to definitely be something that Helsingør have to focus on moving further into the split, or they are just going to share the same fate that Lyra did last half in the Division 1, where they just get run over by every single team before they can actually scale.
And Lyra, if they manage to actually secure this next game, they will be sitting comfortably at the top of Division 2. Yes, it is week 2, it's not a lot yet, but managing to get yourself a nice point lead early on will be a good thing coming later on in the split. And with such a dominant performance, Lyra, they are definitely looking for these tops.
They are definitely looking to be one of the most dominant teams in the Division 2. Maybe even in the middle of the pack of Division 1 at this point. I am not sure how they would fare up against the teams there. But well, they are certainly looking to be a very, very strong team. At this point, Baron isn't up, so that is the silver lining for Helsingør. But as soon as it spawns, it's going to be really, really easy for Lyra to just take it, because they have Callista, and while her rend will now do only 50% damage to all of the things like Baron, Drakes, and Super Minions, I believe it is as well, it's still going to go down so quickly.
A Mountain Drake and 2 items, and that will be even more by the time the Baron spawns. At this point, it really seems like Helsingør, they don't have any control over their own destiny. It will take a throw from Lyra to win this game, if I will be honest.
Really would take a lot for Helsingør to try to turn this game around. Now, every game is comebackable, you know that I love that word, but this one may be a bit too far gone, as in the top lane.
Yeah, that is a double knockout from I don't actually know. Will force the flash from Grathwall, but Torpedo is just burning down in the backline. Tempo dishing out the damage, goes legendary. His 11th kill of the game. Clover is looking for some damage, but he will just get flipped back and pulled by the death sentence. Taken down immediately after. The inhibitor turret is now under siege. Huchang does his best to try and wave clear these minions, but it just is not simply enough. 18 minutes on the clock. Lyra break open the top lane inhibitor.
And Baron will be spawning in just under 2 minutes, and at this point Lyra can just look to set up even more vision wards around that objective to just make sure that Helsingør are completely blind. They will just go back and most likely do that. Air Drake is also up, so they can try to do that. Destiny is really their the world is their oyster at this point, because well, you have also QSS on Kalista now, so there is no lockdown ready for her if she is going to be fighting. However, I don't actually know had the good idea that he was going to fight under the turret, because it is going to be so much damage even from just a single one rather than both the Nexus turrets combined, say. But it wasn't enough. He was solo there and he was fighting against 4 people, and again, if Helsingør were more coordinated, it could have gone differently.
Now in the mid lane, in the river, we might be seeing a fight. Torpedo just gets flanked back. His health bar is gone just like that. 2 kills for Lyra, instantly blown up. And at this point, we're just really waiting for Lyra to finish off the game. Clover tries his luck against Tempo, will not find it, as the entire team of Lyra goes to help their AD carry Kreiner with the kill credit. And I really do not know what more to say in this game.
Well, at this game we are simply really waiting for it to be over. We can maybe wait. We can maybe measure how soon that is going to take for both of these teams to just end the game. Pro mid lane player just teleported back from top lane to his next turret. So I think that at this point Helsingør are really demoralized, judging by the fact that, well, Clover and mid lane player have been just sitting at the Nexus for quite some time. And that is the Baron that we were talking about.
It will be the Baron for Lyra. No contest even possible. That is a 15,000 gold lead and growing at 20 minutes, which is insane. I never thought I would say these 2 numbers. Now, Chang and Miller, they are fighting in that river, but Miller is definitely getting the better part. I don't actually know tries to help, but there just isn't anything that Helsingør can plausibly do at this point to try and come back in this game. Lyra, it will take a hell of a throw as Torpedo, he's just gonna get caught out in his own jungle. Tempo is legendary. I don't actually know when Clover will try to find a kill onto Miller, the only person on Lyra to actually lose his life in this game. And the poor cow is just gonna get chased down. There goes the Righteous Fury. And yeah.
Oof.
That is yet another kill.
I really don't know why Lyra at this point are chasing Helsingør. They could have had sped this up a bit and taken the turrets instead, but I think that they want to have some fun, you know, with how they've managed to pretty much perfectly dismantle the lineup of Helsingør. They are taking all of the turrets right now. There is a pretty big wave pushing in the bot lane. And while the death timers aren't too particularly long, as remember, we're still 20 minutes in,
there is a fight, however, Lyra is just so far ahead that whatever Helsingør try to even throw at them, they're just going to be immediately repelled or killed, just blown up by the kill list. So there isn't really anything that can be done. 2 inhibitors fallen now, the 3rd one is under attack, and Lyra, they just will be looking to close this game out, nothing else for them to do.
Most likely the super minion is just hammering away on the first Nexus turret. The entire lineup of Lyra is there. They're having a nice fun time. They're having a party there.
Yeah, Tempo, he's just getting the kills left, right, and center. No one can touch this one. Actually, it'll be Kreiner picking the triple kill, and the Quachira just getting them all. Will Prominent Player try to go in for the Penta? Can Kreiner get it? It will not be the Penta kill.
Oh no!
Graf will get the last one. The Nexus will fall, and Miller dying is the only thing that will prevent Lyra from getting the perfect match. That is a 21,000 gold in at 22 minutes. Just insane dominance coming in from Lyra is all that I can say at this point.
It really was just absolutely insane. However, I'm really not sure how to analyze what the Helsingør did, because it felt like they weren't doing anything bad. It just felt like they weren't doing anything at all. They really need to up their game in the proactivity department. They need to get together with their coach. They have to go over this game, because there were a lot of situations that the lineup of Helsingør could have had taken to maybe try to force Lyra into a bad situation. They could have had, especially in the first game, gone for the bot lane. They could have had put Clover there and made him focus on that lane, where Clover on the Lee Sin, he was making nice plays, but throughout the entire game, he was in the bot lane once. That is not enough if you have Thorpeter and I don't actually know, who cannot really do too much by themselves just because they are a bit scared, I think, of the enemy bot lane. And it is simply mentality and the strategy that they need to go over to really be able to gain up their tempo and speed if they are planning to compete in the second division.
They very much will need to go over that. They will, after the 2 series, they will not be able to pick up a single game. However, instead of focusing on the negative and what Helsingør needs to go for, let's maybe try and focus on Lyra, because that is a very, very dominant team. And even though they managed to get a 2-0 against a team that is quite visibly struggling, it still puts them at 6 points, currently tied for first together with Kaylee, I believe, at the top of Division 2. And even though there are still 7 more matches to be played, getting an early lead is definitely very, very comfortable place to sit in.
Oh, it will benefit them, especially mentally, as, well, you know what we said in the beginning. They're hoping to just 2-0 everyone, but memes aside, they are looking like a really strong team in the second division. Sure, they have played just against teams who they have stomped, but it's going to be really interesting to see them become these kind of favorites, and it's going to be also interesting to see which teams can really try to take them on. There are some teams that I am looking at, like the Tane Esport, where they have dominated themselves. So there is going to be a match of titans coming up in the upcoming weeks, and that is just going to be really, really interesting to watch.
It most definitely will be. Just seeing the top teams playing against each other rather than the other is something that is always interesting. Now, taking a quick look at the MVPs now, we have got Kreiner for the side of Lyra, and it looks like Huchang for the side of Helsingør, who are getting the most votes right now.
And it makes sense. Kreiner was really proactive, especially in the second game as well as the first one. He set up he set up Killcore for his path to glory in the first one, and in the second one, well, I believe that his KDA really just speaks for itself. 21 if you want to go for the pure KDA. So compared to other of his teammates at this point isn't really too much of a surprise. But yes, he was a really integral link to the entire lineup of Lyra. And well, from Helsingør, Chang, he was pretty much the only player that made sure that the lineup didn't completely collapse from the get-go, as well as Clover, however. So there were some nice little individual outplays that Helsingør tried to pull off, but in the end, it wasn't quite enough, and well, they got run over.
Well, with that, I believe that we will be slowly closing out. Is there anything else that you want to say?
By myself, I'm just really hoping that the upcoming patch that Riot have teased us with is going to be really cool, because we're going to be seeing Sylas over there. Then that's going to be super fun to cast, especially for you, because
oh yes,
I like seeing you suffer.
Random ultimates. Yes, please give me that. Anyways, guys, that will be it from us today. Do not forget to follow us on Twitch and Twitter as well. You subscribe to our channel on YouTube if you want to. We are streaming there as well. Join our Discord if you are not there already, to just be a part of community. And if you're new to this stream, then I very much welcome you there. And my name was Karim Kachka.
Your name was Karen?
Yes, my name was Karen. My name is Kachka, and I was joined by Karen today. And we wish you good night.
Have a good night, everyone.